guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of Otis, and I'm back here with another video. Before we get into this, I have one thing to say, and that is that I know that this series hasn't exactly been the best. I feel kind of weird about it because it could be better, but I keep kind of bullshitting because I keep adding in those scenes that just make Asta look OP without giving him any struggle, like any emotional struggle. So I'm gonna do that more often and make the scenes a bit better when you hear the battle scenes, and try not to make this annoying for you guys because I don't want to ruin the series. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, like usual, since it has been a long time, I will recap all of his abilities and actually tweak them a little bit because before I actually didn't really specify on his abilities that much, but in this one I will. It won't just be like, mumbo jumbo. I'll actually give you names for the techniques I made up for him. And he can also alter it, so don't get surprised when I just say he can do this, because it's not that hard to stack something on top of something and make it stronger. Like when I said that he had concrete gauntlets and then infused it with anti-magic. Anyway, let's get into it. So first one is Smoke Shot, pretty basic ability. It's a direct attack that resembles a fireball, but it has the form of a smoke, and it hits just as hard as a fireball, maybe even harder if he actually focuses that much. Second is Endbringer. He used this against Mars for the first time, just creating it just to shock Klaus. It's a giant sword. It's a giant sword formed from the ability of video, and it is coated in anti-magic. He can produce it from any sword, or can just produce it out of thin air. Usually thin air costs a lot more of his stamina, but he's getting used to it. Third one is Dark Beam. It's a quick, fast bullet launched from the palm of his hands or his fingertips, and it's like his smoke, but it doesn't disperse because it's like a laser. This is from the Neon ability. It doesn't disperse like the smoke does. It's a direct laser. Imagine Frieza's red laser when he killed Vegeta. And it's incredibly strong. It can pierce through steel. I keep messing up today. Fourth one, I think, is Unbreakable. I borrowed this from Kirishima, obviously. It's armor that covers Asta's body completely in stone, allowing him to have almost impenetrable defense. Other one is Breaking Point. This attack jams an opponent's body with concrete, which hurts like a bitch, and can definitely hurt an enemy. It can make them cough up blood. It hurts a lot. It can hurt anybody. Other one is Wormhole. He took this from Yami's Black Hole, which is just to absorb magic, but he can also return it back. And other one is Obsidian. It's his demon form, but in this one he named it Obsidian, not just his black form. And it can make him very tired if he uses it for too long, but it is kind of his ultimate move right now. And the other one is Anti-Magic Wave. It's a wave of anti-magic controlled by Asta's smoke ability. He can just bend it to his will now. So he uses it to slash anti-magic into the air just to hit an opponent or cut through magic. Other is After Image technique. He moves so fast using Neon that he actually creates an after image of himself or multiple ones to confuse enemies. Other is Phase Shift. He can turn into a sort of mist to attack people. In a moment he can vanish and turn into looking like he turned into dust. And he can appear right behind you as if it was nothing. And in that form he's completely untouchable. Other is Swift Slash. A barrage of sword slashes infused with anti-magic. Imagine Meliodas' attack with Hellblaze, except this one he's using anti-magic and just cutting you. He just continuously does it. And that's about it, so let's actually get into the story. Asta just went on a date accompanied by Finro and Luck. There he met a commoner like himself, a girl named Rebecca. She took him to her house after kissing him and let him play around with her siblings, but soon, as night falls, it turns out that all the kids had disappeared, and the land was covered with snow, created by magic. So Asta, Ghosh, and Teresa go to get the kids back. This time, Asta is also more devoted because he kissed Rebecca back and made a promise to get the kids back. Now, on the way to retrieve the kids, Ghosh woke up and already headed out alone with the sole intention of getting his sister back. Soon Asta and Teresa see a cave, and by it, a kid who just lied there in the cold. Asta recognized him. That's Rebecca's brother, Marco! Marco! He quickly flies to Marco and shakes him, asking if he was okay. Teresa then lands to inspect him and said that he was under some type of mind control magic. Asta says, "Oh, then I can take care of this." The sister is confused and scared as she sees him pull out a huge sword. "What do you think you're doing?" asks Teresa, confused. Asta then taps the kid with his sword, canceling the spell and surprising Teresa. She thinks to herself, "Did he just cancel the magic?" Marco then finally regains consciousness as he asks about what's going on, when all of a sudden he feels a stinging pain in his feet from walking in the snow and starts to cry a bit. Teresa quickly starts to warm him up with her fire magic and also healing him up, creating a zone inside of which he can stay safe from the cold. Asta says, "Come on, don't cry. You're a man, aren't you? Take this. It's my robe. It'll give you strength." Asta takes off his robe, putting it on Marco and telling him not to cry anymore, and also told him to wait for them because they will bring back the other kids. We cut to Ghosh, who is furious having just seen Marie with a bruise on her cheek, and filled with murderous intent, he uses Reflect Refrain to destroy all the snow golems made by Neige. "I'm gonna kill you," says Ghosh. Barrow and Neige are scared as hell seeing how much power this man holds, and are trying to find a way out of this, because they haven't finished draining the kids with their magic yet. This is when Asta and Teresa burst in, saying, "Ghosh, please stop leaving us behind, dude." Asta said that. At this moment, he notices the kids on the ground, the magic draining device, and the perpetrators. "Did you do this?" Barrow starts to laugh, mocking Asta for having no magic, and in an instant, Asta appears in front of him, slamming his Demon Dweller sword into his stomach. This makes him spit out blood as he gets flinged into a wall behind him, cracking it. Teresa is shocked. "I can't believe how worried about him. This kid is strong." Seeing what just happened, Neige tries to run away but is stopped by Ghosh. He then tries to bind him with snow so he can quickly escape, until he gets hit by another ray right in the back due to Ghosh using Real Double to clone himself. Neige is hurt and feeling intense pain while squirming on the ground. Barrow calls him useless as Asta grabs him by the collar and lifts him with one arm. "Why would you try to ruin these kids' lives? They'll be made fun of for having no magic. Some of them are orphans. Why would you add on to their burden? Do you really need money that badly?" Barrow says, "I don't give a rat's ass about their lives. I'm trying to survive out here. Maybe you don't understand because you're a kid, but some..." Asta quickly cuts him off and knocks him out before he can utter another word because he wasn't sure he would be able to control himself if he said something else. Teresa says, "Good choice. You'll get nothing from beating him up to a pulp. Aside from that, can you do something about these kids?" Asta calms himself and then goes around dispelling the magic by tapping all the kids in a flash. The instant the kids regain consciousness, they begin to beg for their parents and ask for them, but then they see Sister Teresa, so they go over to hug her, and everybody knew who she was. She calmed down the kids a lot. Teresa looks at Asta. "You were raised in Hodge Village, right?" Asta asks, "Yeah, how did you know that?" Teresa says, "Lily used to be my apprentice. She came back to visit me one day and she would not stop talking about you." Asta nervously laughs. "I hope you only heard good things." Teresa says she would always talk about how quiet and distant you were sometimes, but she said you were a good kid. Then she gets serious. "Asta, is there something wrong that you won't tell me? Or even Sister Lily? Is there a reason why you acted like that for most of your childhood?" Asta says nothing and silence falls for a bit until they both hear Ghosh kicking down Neige. Marie was trying to stop him, but even then he wouldn't budge. "How dare you touch my little princess, you scum," says Ghosh. We all know he's a Siscon. This is when Sister Teresa gives a powerful ass speech, also asking why these two thugs would try to hurt the future of the Clover Kingdom. Neige started to cry, saying that he just wanted some friends, but Barrow's intentions did not change. He wanted to make a quick buck, but luckily he wasn't going to interfere because he was out cold. Asta then starts asking Neige how to return the kids' magic sources with a domineering voice, when all of a sudden, everyone feels a weird presence, and they turn around to see a girl falling out of a black portal. "So we meet again, Asta," says Sally, licking her lips. Teresa senses something weird about this woman. Her magic isn't just strong, it feels creepy. Ghosh then takes her as an enemy and completely discards what abilities she might have, and quickly attacks. She then jumps off the cliff she was standing on, summoning Sticky Salamander, which absorbs his mirror ray, and then the strange creature proceeds to walk on the walls in a very creepy manner. Sally says, "Come on, don't ruin the moment, I just got here." She looks towards Barrow and then says, "Oh, he's asleep. Useless. Well, I gotta give you some credit for bringing me to Asta. But first," she rushes at Ghost, who uses Reflect Reflame to no avail because, just like his mirrors, her Sticky Salamander reflects all attacks back, which he has to dodge while on his broom. Then she starts launching tendrils of slime everywhere, mainly going after Asta. Asta swings and misses, so Sally manages to catch him as she brings him closer and starts to inspect him. Asta then smirks and, with enough strength, manages to free his hand from the slime, and using Dark Beam, he blasts a hole in her abdomen. She screams in pain, releasing the magic, so Asta uses this chance to kick her away, giving him some room to spread his wings and fly away. She was about to attack Asta again when Sister Teresa uses her Sacred Red Cross attack to completely melt Salamander, and also hitting Sally, slamming her into a wall. "I will not let you harm that young man. I may be old, but I used to be a magic knight as well," says Teresa. Asta and Sally are very surprised to hear this, but Ghosh already knew, he just didn't want to show her any respect, and the kids are kind of impressed. Their eyes are twinkling like every character in Black Clover when they get excited about something. Sally lands on the ground, like really hard, losing a lot of blood. 3 versus 1. That's not fair. You melted Sticky Salamander. And Asta, I wasn't done searching. She keeps whining like a child as Asta says, "You have a screw loose, lady. The faster you go down, the better." He uses an anti-magic wave launching it at her, and she just barely dodges, using her gel magic to try and block it. But it just makes things worse and slams her into a wall again, but this time she's stuck in it. She realizes that she can't joke around anymore, and she slowly starts to heal herself without anybody noticing. And it hurts because there are still remnants of anti-magic in her guts. Sally starts to panic as she sees an unconscious Barrow, so she smiles, forcing herself out of the wall, and she starts running over and jams his neck with a huge syringe containing her experimental serum. Barrow opens his eyes, and in a moment he transforms into a disgusting golem covered from head to toe in a strange substance that resembles mud. He aims for Asta while in the air, but Asta just keeps cutting through with his Demon Dweller sword and keeps using smoke shots filled with anti-magic. Teresa says, "How could she do that? Not a single show of remorse in her expression." So this is what we're up against. I'm getting too old for this. Neige is now crying, seeing as the only person he had close to him. Seems like he just died because there's no way he survived that. And even if he was a jerk, he was still family and he was the only thing that he had left. The kids start crying as well, and this is when Ghosh decided to dip. He grabs Marie and flies away on his broom while Marie tells him to stop and she's squirming. Sally just says, "This time I'm taking you back with me, Asta, whether you want me to or not." Asta lands in front of the kids, protecting them with Teresa's help. This goes on for a while until Asta's had enough. "I'm done with this. I'm not going anywhere with you, and you're not going anywhere, period." He then puts his hands up as a reddish energy comes out of his hands. Ghost just re-entered after being convinced by Marie to come back, just to see Asta utter these words, "Endbringer." A giant sword made from smoke and anti-magic jabs into the creature's stomach, making it blow up everywhere as it starts to dissolve when it lands, revealing Barrow on the ground. All the kids' jaws drop and they proceed to tell Asta how cool that was. Asta turns around saying, "I know, right?" Then Sally at this point had already lost a lot of blood, so she passed out while saying that Asta belongs to her and her psycho shit. Asta says, "Yeah, that's never gonna happen." Sister Teresa and Ghosh, as well as Neige, cannot believe what Asta just did, and he didn't even look tired. Sister asks, "What are you, kid?" Asta says, "You know, the more people keep asking me that, the more it hurts. I have feelings, you know." The sister starts to laugh, patting him on the shoulder and tells him that he did a good job. By this point, Neige went to check on Barrow and sees that his guess was right, he was dead. The sword got him straight in the stomach and split him in half. It was almost too gruesome to look at, so he froze the corpse. He then slowly starts to walk toward Asta, who is surrounded by the kids, just cheering him on, calling out his name, and Teresa and Ghosh, who is telling him that for a brat, that wasn't bad. Asta says, "Yeah, I don't want to hear that from you. I bet Marie had to scold you to get you here, didn't she?" Ghosh then gets mad at this as Asta and Teresa both start to scold him and saying, "Actually, no, you know what? You need to listen to this." And even for a sociopath, he knows it's not wrong. Even Marie told him it, and now he just takes the insults. He knows he messed up. Asta then sees Neige and stops the conversation and starts walking towards him as well. Neige, looking down, starts to talk. "We committed horrible crimes. I'll have to deal with the consequences. I was too weak to ever make my own choices, but maybe when I..." He then falls silent, realizing that there is no way that he will be accepted after what he did. After all of that, kidnapping kids and human trafficking, it was just wrong. Asta then brightens up his spirit, saying, "Yeah, I'll be your friend. But don't forget that you made these decisions. You can't even blame your brother. You're way stronger than him, obviously. This all falls on you. But when you come out of jail, I guess I'll be waiting for you." Neige then smiles when out of nowhere a blinding light just comes out of nowhere, and Asta was fast and smart enough to protect Neige in time by using an anti-magic barrier. But he still got a cut. Asta says, "Don't worry, I'll protect you. I'm not ever gonna let this happen again. Nobody is getting hurt." When the blinding light finally stops, Asta sighs in relief, but to his shock, he looks behind to see Sister Teresa, almost at death's door, punctured by swords of light, and Ghosh on the floor pretty banged up. Asta says, No, not again. Who the hell do you think you are?" He then looks up and sees the man in a row flying above him, carrying and healing Sally, as well as the man with the strange marks on his face. He has a flashback to what happened in the kingdom, and then he gets super mad. This guy is just hovering over him as if he was some kind of freaking god, and it pissed him off. And he just had the gall to attack an old lady because she was doing the right thing. And it was just like a hypocritic thing. You know what I mean about like he thinks that humans suck, but he's murdering people. The kids start to tear up as Marie, who was hiding, also saw everything that happened, and she was completely horrified and was mad that she couldn't even say anything or things would get worse. Asta then hears Sister Teresa trying to say something, so he gets closer, telling her to not talk because she's losing blood. She says, I have to tell you this. Please protect the kids. When fights break out, they're always too weak to defend themselves. They end up dying. I became a nun to stop that. Now you need to take care of them. For me. But be careful, because... Asta's eyes in that moment slowly turn blood red, as instead of going into his normal obsidian form, his right arm turns completely covered in a dark armor, and just containing pure anti-magic. To every fiber in his right arm right now is purely made of anti-magic, and his energy flares up like crazy more than ever before, not only gaining 2 horns like usual, actually no, gaining 2 horns for the first time, but this time he also has 2 fully grown wings. He looks like a complete demon. He's now using 10% of his demonic power. Lake then surprised says, "How do you have that grimoire? It doesn't belong to you. How could a human have that? I'm taking it back." He hands Sally to Valtos and, asks him to take care of her as he fires a spear of light right at Asta, only for it to dissipate as it was about to reach him. This shocks him completely. Impossible. He didn't even move. Are you really human? A human can't use that grimoire. And he looks at the state of the grimoire. He is so confused right now, and as soon as he finishes this sentence, he barely dodges a fast attack from Asta, getting his arm cut off and then kicked in the face into a wall. Asta then falls to the ground on one knee. He's in pain. He can't control himself. He can't control the output of his power. We then enter his mindscape to see that he is engulfed by a darkness, the darkness turns into a smiling demon, and it is just telling him to give in to the pain, the anger, the anguish, everything, to destroy everything. He's trying to resist, but can't deny that right now he needs power. But this isn't the right way to do it. On the outside, Neige is trying to save Teresa by trying to stop the blood, but she's just so regretful right now that she could not tell Asta to not lose himself in time. Because Sister Lily always said that he was a shy looking kid or just quiet, but she thought that maybe the reason why is because of this. He can't control himself when things like this happen, so he tries to act different. At this point, Lick then comes out badly hurt, then quickly heals himself with his light magic. So now, not only is he healed, he's absolutely livid. How dare a mere human touch me? This time there's nothing stopping me from killing you and taking back what's rightfully ours. Asta is still struggling inside himself right now and feeling unbearable pain, so he can't see the attack coming. And just as he was about to be hit by it, that's when our boy Yami comes and appears by portal and blocks the attack. Yami says, "Don't even think about it." He then turns around and sees Asta. "Kid, what happened to you?" He feels his magic being cancelled out and returning, and he thinks that Asta must be doing it. Asta doesn't respond when Yami asks what's going on, and he's still struggling, until he actually goes to slash at Yami with his hand turning into a demon claw. Yami says, "I said, what the hell happened to you?" He punches Asta in the head so hard that when he hits the ground, he leaves a crack in it. Then Asta finally snaps out of it. Slowly, but surely snaps out of it. But he's still in his new form, and he sees what happened to his arm. He still feels pain all over, but it's bearable, and he's sweating bullets. Then he looks up to see Yami and thanks him for bringing him back, even though he doesn't know what the hell just happened. Yami says, Yeah, don't worry about it. Let's just take care of this guy and you can tell me all about it later." Finral, who was carrying Teresa, was then about to be hit by Lick's attack when Asta blocks it with his Demon Dweller sword. Of course, Finral brought him here, so he was taking care of the other kids. Asta says, "Did you really think I would let you do that again? Get some new material, you monster." Lick scoffs at this as Asta tells Finral to hurry up and get out of there, so he does so, leaping through the portal and of course taking Ghosh with him. And of course Asta told him that there are some kids outside the cave he needs to take back. Now Asta brought out his katana as well and just got ready to fight, throw down. Yami senses a huge amount of ki that Asta is displaying right now, and it is way bigger than when he fights him usually. Whenever they sparred, they were close to strength, but he would always win. This time, he feels weaker just being next to him. He then turns his attention to the man in front of him and stared him down. Licht was done with words and appeared behind him for an attack, but he was once again hit by Asta to the curb, and then Yami used his dark slash. He misses, however, and then Licht proceeds to increase the speed of his attacks. Asta was fine because any magic that went close up to him just started to dissipate, and he was just doing fine. The reason why Licht just can't sense him is because he has power, but there is no presence of him because he can't sense his magic. He's extremely frustrated right now, and he's ready to go all out. Yami is struggling a bit, however, and is actually getting a cut on his shoulder and like traps, and it's been a while, so he's about to go all out, but he's enjoying it. And soon he has enough of this shit and just uses Dimensional Slash to cut Licht's cheek and a piece of his locks off. Of course this pisses off Licht as Asta says, "Is it time for us to fight back, Cap?" Yami says, "No, you fight that guy." When he says this, Valtos finally attacks by Licht's orders, and Licht says, "Capture that boy for me. I don't mind if he gets hurt, but be careful." Valtos thinks, "This kid, how dare he? I'll show our lord how powerless you are." He appears behind Asta far away and shoots an attack when Asta uses Wormhole to absorb it. Asta is surprised because before he couldn't use any of his natural abilities, and then he feels a stinging pain in his heart and then gasps as he just starts to, breathe heavily. Asta says, "I got this, Cap. I'll surpass my limits." Yami smiles and thinks, the one that needs to surpass his limits is me. I won't be beaten by a kid. Both Asta and Yami then flare up their energy. Yami goes out for the full out for the first time in a while, as they both say, "This ends here." And that's actually where I'm gonna leave it off. I hope you guys enjoyed that what if, and like I said, please just give this series one more chance. I swear I'll get, serious again, because I don't care what you say in the comments to make me feel better. I know how annoying it is that I'm not delivering with this series, or at least I feel that way, because everything is just mumbo jumbo when I rewatch it, and I'm gonna get get to work again. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I hope you guys have a good day. Like usual, just don't do anything retarded. Don't do stupid shit. All right, we don't need people dying more on COVID-19. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're rising up fast since I came back again, so let's keep going like that. And the next what if should be out on, I think, Friday-ish, because I'm doing what if Naruto was the son of Meliodas and Elizabeth, and for that I need to watch a certain movie. This is a hint, because the main girl will be coming in soon, so I'm giving you guys a hint. You guys should know what girl I'm talking about. Me and some people in the comments have talked about it. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.